Hello and welcome, this is Angie. Thank you for joining me for another card making tutorial. Today we're going to be working on an Argyle stencil card. I get started by using my Altenew stamping platform, which has the sticky base that holds the cardstock in place. I really like this for stenciling because it makes sure that your cardstock and your stencil don't move and ruin your hard work. I've chosen to use the colour Chipped Sapphire of my Distress Oxide inks and an ink blending tool. I'm using this to apply quite a heavy layer of ink so that I can make sure that all the inking that goes through the stencil is the same. I try not to rush it so that the colour's really solid and all looks uniform once the stencil's taken away. This stencil is just one I made using my Cricut machine, one of my favorites, a quick and easy way to get creative with really great results. I'm a clean as I go type crafter, so I like to clean my stencil while it's still in the platform before removing it. Now I'm going to do layer 2 of the stencil. I'm not doing this one in my stamping platform because I don't like to use other media on that mat. I don't want to destroy it. So I'm just using some washi tape to secure the cardstock from the back onto the stencil, and then using a scrap paper to secure the stencil to the scrap paper for when I start applying my deco transfer gel, which you can see me using here. This, if you have not used it before, is really fantastic. It helps to get a really shiny finish to your cards if you're using it with deco transfer foil. So it's kind of like almost a mayonnaise consistency. And because the stencil's kind of like stitched, I'm just making sure to go back and forth and up and down to make sure that I'm getting the gel all through those little stitch marks. The gel does dry clear, so it's fairly difficult to see that you've got it everywhere it needs to go, but it does get this sort of shiny look once the gel's all dry and it becomes tacky. So I'd had my laminator heating up while I had applied the transfer gel, cut a piece of deco foil down to size and laid that over my card front. You make sure you've got the matte or foil kind of side against your cardstock and the shiny side facing you, because once you lift this off you will see that the shine is now directly to the card and it is very shiny. You'll see how much of the light it catches there. Way prettier than if you were to use embossing powder or anything like that. I felt like the card was a little bit empty. There was a lot of white space, and I decided to grab my stencil number 1 that I did with the Chipped Sapphire round 1, and decided to use peacock feathers to go in and fill in the gaps to sort of fill the card in a bit more, and I felt like that just really pulled everything together. So I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole thing, and the stencil that I cut using my Cricut machine is only really big enough to do the card front, so I do have to move the stencil around back and forth, and being the tidy crafter I am, I do clean the stencil in between, moving it around as well to make sure that I don't mess the rest of the cardstock or sort of damage my design at all. So this is a 5-year anniversary card. I have found a beautiful decorative filigree type number 5 and some gold cardstock that I'm recycling from a chocolate packet, running that through my big shot die cutting machine quite quickly, and then just removing the die from the stencil and popping out all those little pieces, and again chucking those away and cleaning as I go. Now the background's quite busy and I needed something to separate the 5 from the background, so I have done a little vellum oval that I'm going to place in the middle of the card. I do need some space between though, because when you've got it directly down on the cardstock it's still very busy. So I found some foam tape, craft foam I think you call it, sorry, and some double-sided adhesive, and I'm applying that to both sides of the craft foam before running this through the die cutting machine. I'm going to be cutting 2 foam number 5s that are exactly like the mottled gold one. The reason being that I'm going to be putting one directly under the 5 to create a little bit of space and dimension between the vellum and the number 5 to raise that off the card, and I'm going to be doing another layer of the foam underneath the vellum straight onto the cardstock to just disperse the busy background a little bit. So you'll see how much that sort of puts the focus on the 5 as we work our way through assembling the card. So that's layer number 1 under the 5 and popping that onto the middle of the vellum, just making sure I've got all those little pieces out so that they don't sort of destroy the look of the card. I'm using my grid mat just to help me kind of center it because I'll probably eyeball terribly. So layer 1's done. Now I've turned the vellum over and I'm applying the second piece of craft foam to the underneath side. The reason that I chose to do that with the craft foam is because adhesive can look quite terrible once you've got vellum on top of it. So using these foam adhesives just help to keep that really clean, professional look to the card. And the foam does distort a bit through the die cutting machine, so I just have to be careful to make sure that it is applying smoothly. And there you can see what a difference that made, having it dispersed like that in that dimension. And now all that's left to do is to mount it onto a card front. So I'm using some very fine 5mm double-sided adhesive tape and applying that to the card front that I've just decorated. So I'm doing the 4 strips there, cutting it to size, and then I'm going to grab my pokey tool and just release a little bit out of each corner. This just helps me to position the card fronts sort of lightly so I can still move it around before I slide those little tape pieces all the way out, and then press down to secure the card front firmly, because once it's down and it's not going to move. You can actually use your stamping platform or the edge of something to line up the front, but I do find that this technique just helps me get the cardstock quite square on. Yeah, and I'm really happy with that. So yeah, thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope you enjoyed, and happy crafting. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.